This is a chapter on God is uh, statements in the Bible, and I've included some from the Quran. I'm a little skeptical about that because there's a lot of misunderstandings going on in Islam that generate anger and hatred and evil. But there's a lot of weaknesses in some of the whole Judeo-Christian triad is apparently, or I shouldn't say the whole, but the majority is all lost. They've lost touch with loving God with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength, and immersing into a loving relationship with their Creator. Um, as you can see, I'm aging, I'm getting old, and I want to put this stuff out here before I put my 2 cents into the commentary or the discussions that are going on before I pass away. And in the process, I've gone through many different versions of hell, and I appear, at least to me myself, to be coming out of. I've already come out of many different versions of hell. I still have a few that are still catch me now and again. I'm conditioned to respond to life in negative manners, but I'm working on them. And ideally, and hopefully, and apparently, it looks as though I'm going to be able to resolve all the Pavlovian conditioning that I have to responding to the world in negative manners. Anyway, we're going to go on with this. This is going to be a chapter, again, from the books. God as the omnipresent, omnipotent, omniscient, creator and sustainer of all. So I'm going to take some quotes from, again, I got the Quran and the Bible. I'm a little disappointed I didn't notice any Bhagavad Gita quotes, but maybe I can dig them up at the end of this sermon. I know they're in this book somewhere, maybe in the back. You can find them. The Quran, God is all powerful. Uh, there's a bunch of different chapter and verses. I'm going to list them all off, but they say the same thing. God is all powerful. 220, comma, or colon, 517, 40, and 120. Chapter 3, verse 26, 29, and 34. Chapter 48, verse 21 and 54. Chapter 42, or no, 50, chapter 48, verse 21. Chapter 54, verse 42. Chapter 64, verse 1. Chapter 67, verse 1. And then the same book, God sees all things. Chapter 5, verse 118. And chapter 85, verse 9. And God controls all things. Chapter 4, verse 85. Okay. And then all things belong to God. Chapter 3, verse 109. Then we go over to Matthew in the New Testament. 10, chapter 10, verse 29 to 30. Jesus says, "Are not 2 sparrows sold for a penny? Yet not one of them will fall to the ground outside your Father's care, and even the very hairs of your head are numbered." All right, we've got the next little chapter in this chapter. God is all powerful or omnipotent in Job or Job 42, verse 2. I know that you can do all things. No purpose of yours can be thwarted. Jeremiah 32, verse 27. I am the Lord, the God of all mankind. Is anything too hard for me? Mark chapter 10, verse 27. Jesus looked at them and said, With man, this is impossible, but not with God. All things are possible with God. And then I didn't write this out. Matthew 19:26. Um, right, so then we go on to the next chapter in the chapter. That God creates all in the Bible. Acts 14, verse 15. Men, why are you doing this? We are of the same nature as you, human beings. We, we proclaim to you good news that you should turn from these idols to the living God who made heaven and earth, sea, and all that is in them. Heaven and earth and sea, and all that is in them. Again, turning to the living God instead of idols. In particular, loving the living God. The living God, not just some God, some dead God somewhere. This atomically charged, vitally alive spirit that we are in and surrounded. We are composed of loving the living God instead of idols or individual fragments, small fragments of God. It's, I'm going to move on. Revelation, chapter 4, verse 11. Worthy are you, Lord our God, to receive glory and honor and power, for you created all things. Because of your will, they came to be and were created. Sirach, chapter 24, verse 8. Then the Creator of all gave me this command, and he who formed me chose the spot for my tent, saying, in Jacob make your dwelling, in Israel your inheritance. John 1, chapter 1, verse 3 through 5. All things came to be through him, and without him nothing came to be. What came to be through him was life, and that life was the light of the human race. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness has not overcome it. 1 Corinthians chapter 12, verse 4 through 11. There are different kinds of spiritual gifts, but the same Spirit. There are different forms of service, but the same Lord. There are different workings, but the same God who produces all of them in everyone. To each individual, the manifestation of the Spirit is given for some benefit. To one is given through the Spirit the expression of wisdom, to another the expression of knowledge according to the same Spirit, to another faith by the same Spirit, to another gifts of healing, but the one Spirit, to another mighty deeds, to another prophecy, to another discernment of spirits, to another varieties of tongues, to another interpretation of tongues. One and the same Spirit produces all of these, distributing them individually to each person as he wishes. Hebrews chapter 3, verse 4. Every house is founded by someone, but the founder of all is God. Jeremiah chapter 10, verse 12 through 16. He who made the earth by his power, established the world by his wisdom, and stretched out the heavens by his skill. When he thunders, the waters in the heavens roar, and he brings up clouds from the ends of the earth. He makes the lightning flash in the rain, and releases storm winds from their chambers. Every man is stupid, ignorant. Every artisan is put to shame by his idol. He has molded a fraud without breath of life. Nothingness are they, a ridiculous work. They will perish in their time of punishment. Not like these are the portion of Jacob. He is the creator of all things. Israel is his very own tribe. Lord of hosts in his name. And then the Quran, uh, chapter 2, verse 28, chapter 4, verse 79, chapter 67, verse 13, chapter 87, verse 1. Then God is everywhere or omnipresent in the Bible. Acts 17, chapter 17, verse 22 through 29. One of my favorite little statements, especially coming from Paul, indicates he had some knowledge at some times. He seemed to misguide people at one time and then guide people correctly at other times. Then Paul stood up in the Areopagus and said, "You Athenians, I see that in every respect you are very religious. For as I walked around looking carefully at your shrines, I even discovered an altar inscribed to an unknown God. What therefore you unknowingly worship, I proclaim to you. The God who made the world and all that is in it, the Lord of heaven and earth, does not dwell in sanctuaries made by human hands, nor is he served by human hands, because he needs anything. Rather, it is he who gives to everyone life and breath, and the breath is the breathing connection, the most intimate connection with our Creator, the most dependent connection, and it's better to accept that lovingly and find your love center so it helps you be at peace with God's will for you, and the inner being that's guiding you, filling you into harmony. Um, Rather, it is He who gives to everyone life and breath and everything. He made from one the whole human race to dwell on the entire surface of the earth, and he fixed the ordered seasons and the boundaries of their regions so that people might seek God, even perhaps grope for him and find him, though indeed he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as even some of the poets have said, for we too are his offspring. Since therefore we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the divinity is like an image fashioned from gold, silver, or stone by human art and imagination. I highlighted in bold letters, for in him we live and move and have our being. This is a version that was spoken uh, probably a little less than somewhere between 1900 and 2000 years ago, discussing that we are in atomic energy. We are composed of, we live in him and move and have our being in all this atomic energy. And the so being in love with this harmonious, being in harmonious loving union with this omniversal energy, the Spirit of God, is to me, given what was said, I mean, this far long ago, to have this understanding was very great during its time because they were unaware of atomic energy or spirit or the distant galaxies. They were unaware that the Earth was round or a globe of some kind. Um, Uh, so he made from one the whole human race to dwell on the surface of the earth, and he fixed the ordered seasons and the boundaries of their regions so that people might seek God, even perhaps grope for him, wandering around with their eyes closed, groping for them, um, and find him, though indeed he is not far from any one of us. For in him we live and move and have our being, as as even some of your poets have said. Uh, and that is a quotation of what some of the poets said. For we too are his offspring. Since therefore we are the offspring of God, we ought not to think that the divinity is like an image fashioned from gold, silver, or stone by human art and imagination. Well, apparently he was being critical of all their statues and idols that they had. The Book of Wisdom, which is not, it is from the New American Bible. It's not in the New International Bible, and I don't know if it's in other uh, Bible. But the Book of Wisdom, chapter uh, 11, 21 through 26, and chapter 12, 1 through 2. So this continues on from chapter 11 to chapter 12. Uh, For with you great strength abides always. Who can resist the might of your arm? Indeed, before you the whole universe is as a grain from a balance, or a drop of morning dew come down upon the earth. But you have mercy on all, because you can do all things, and you overlook the sins of men that they may repent. For you love all things that are, and loathe nothing that you have made. For what you hated you would not have fashioned, and how could a thing remain unless you willed it, or be preserved had it not been called forth by you? But you spare all things because they are yours, O Lord and lover of souls. For your imperishable spirit is in all things. So the Spirit of God, the atomic spirit, is in all things. And it's just aligning with the conversations we've been having in this, or monologues that you've been having in these videos that I'm making, putting out before I pass on. Um, O Lord and lover of souls, for your imperishable spirit is in all things. Therefore you rebuke offenders little by little. Your inner being, like if I bend my finger back and it starts to hurt, I'm getting rebuked by the being within me, telling me stop. When I drink too much, and of course, I haven't had a drink in just about the end of this month. It'll be 37 years, but when you drink too much or eat too much or do something wrong, you pay a price, and you're being guided by the inner being that's running the majority of your life from within. Um, but you spare all things because they are yours, O Lord, and lover of souls. For your imperishable spirit is in all things. Therefore you rebuke offenders little by little, warn them, and remind them of their sins they are committing, that they may abandon their wickedness and believe in you, O Lord. 1 Corinthians 15:28. When everything is subjected to him, then the Son himself will be subjected to the one who subjected everything to him, so that God may be all in all. Psalm 139, 7 through 12. Where can I go from your spirit? From your presence, where can I flee? If I go up to the heavens, you are there. If I sink to the nether world, you are present there. If if I take wings of the dawn, if I settle at the farthest limits of the sea, even there your hand shall guide me, and your right hand hold me fast. If I say, surely the darkness shall hide me, and night shall be my light. For you darkness itself is not dark, and night shines as day. Darkness and light are the same. Uh, the Quran. This is the new. This is the uh, NJD. Forget the what version of that. I have two different Qurans that have different, most likely slightly, but kind of different Qurans. Apparently, there's at least 74 different versions of English translations, and some of them are very different than the other ones, and some of them are very similar. But to God belongs the east and the west. Whichever way you turn, there is the face of God. He is omnipresent and all-knowing. And then chapter 2, verse 115. This is chapter 2, verse 225, 255. God, there is no God but him. the living, the eternal one. Neither slumber nor sleep overtakes him. He is what the heavens and the earth contain. And there's a statement. He is what the heavens and the earth contain, not is around it. Is who can intercede with him except by his permission? He knows what is before and behind men. They can grasp only that part of his knowledge which he wills. His throne is as vast as the heavens and the earth, and the preservation of both does not weary him. He is the exalted, the immense one. When I read some quotes from the Quran like this, I am led to believe that Muhammad was onto something. He was in some way, but I'm firmly believing that his followers gathered and corrupted uh, everything he said. His mission of submission, submitting to God, and all the things that are said that he did and said, and all the violence and all the hate and contempt and killings and murders and terrorizing and all the conquests and all the crap. I'm firmly believing that Uthman and Ali and Aisha and I can't remember at the moment some of his other close followers and the people who gathered up the Quran later, beyond after in the 8th century or whatever it was, um, and, gathered up and took in some of the more violent. They gathered things together. They didn't refine it and keep just the good stuff. They included a bunch of barbaric crap. Um, so I can't just chime in and agree with Mohammedanism, because sometimes it is they're more interested in what Muhammad did than loving God with all their heart, mind, soul, and strength in all things, and seeing God in all. They see limits, they see barriers, they see prejudice, they see condemnations and criticisms. But anyway, let me keep moving here before this video becomes too long. Uh, but I'm including those. Again, I used to say um, back when I was drinking that if the truth came to me from the beer bottle I was drinking, I would have to accept it. But if the error comes from the Pope, I have to deny it. I have to accept the truth, no matter where it comes from a moron or a sinner or a saint. If the truth is the truth, or what I understand to be the truth, or more true than something that's less true. All right, God is all-knowing or omniscient. From the Bible, 1 John chapter 3, verse 19 through 20. Now this is how we shall know that we belong to the truth and reassure our hearts before him in whatever our hearts condemn. For God is greater than our hearts and knows everything. Hebrews chapter 4, verse 13. No creature is concealed from him, but everything is naked and exposed to the eyes of him to whom we must render an account. An account. The Quran, chapter 7 to 82 uh, of uh, in chapter 2. Those are all uh, verses in chapter 2. Chapter 16, chapter 57, verse 5, chapter 58, verse 7, chapter 64, verse 4 and 18, chapter 67, 13, chapter verse 13, 19, and 26, chapter 72, verse 28, chapter 87, verse 8. Uh, and then I'm going to go in out of the quotations and go into some of the things I've written. Again, if humans have creative intelligence and have been created by God or produced by the omniverse, then there is creative intelligence in the universe. If A equals B and B equals C, then A equals C. Some kind of mathematical logic of how things work. If God, humans have creative intelligence and they've been created by God, and then God or the omniverse has creative intelligence in the omniverse. If the atomically charged omniversal energy or spirit has creative intelligence on a relatively small scale in humans, then it becomes clear that this energy or spirit can have creative intelligence throughout the universe, uh, intelligent in the design or a bunch of different things. Humans are relatively small. The snail brain analogy, which I put up and above, is that humans, because the universal God is so vast and so deeply organized, um, humans have a brain that has a capacity to understand some things, uh, but relative to the infinite omniverse or God, we have our brains are similar to a snail brain, understanding physics or language or anything in science or anything in mathematics or anything understanding the conversation. A snail brain has limits in what they can think and do. Uh, a, a parrot or a dog has a similar limitation. They can understand certain things, or they can repeat certain words, or obedient and train how to go get the duck that them or go on a hunting or companionship or sniffing out scents at a border. Um, but the level of intelligence doesn't reach the level of intelligence of understanding physics and the universe like we can, or the world we live in, um, the way we can, our abilities. But relative to the infinite space in all directions and the subatomic particles and the dark matter and space between the space between atomic particles, the space between here and there. Humans have a relative snail brain uh, in comparison with the infinite omniverse of God. And yet we assume we know much about, when we do know much, but we assume we know more than we think we know, uh, much about our own galaxy. Uh, Human knowledge is a product of the omniverse of God. The omniverse has been and is creating, producing, and sustaining our fingernails, growth and regeneration of our bodies. All of our bodies and our fingernails are being created by something else, and that is the omniverse. And for this conversation, we're going to call the omniverse God, or the God is create. If God is the creator of all things, then God must be creating my fingernail and my skin regeneration, must be creating my brain circuitry and my hearing and my vocal cords and my ability to move things. If God is the creator of all things. Uh, the omniverse has been and is creating, producing, and sustaining our fingernails, growth and regeneration of our bodies, trees, animals, the sun, stars, galaxies, insects, all movement, every creative act that was, is, and will be performed, memory, the birds of the air, the flowers of the field, the hairs on our head, instinct, the will to survive, consciousness, etc. For as long as humans can detect, and more than likely beyond that time frame, God, according to monotheistic religions, as the knower of all things, must know the actions, location, and characteristics of every particle, every proton, electron, and neutron, and all the ideas that were, are, and will be which will imply an intimacy that can only be attained by being omnipresent. All human knowledge, animal knowledge, instinctive knowledge, evolutionary knowledge, and any other kind of knowledge that was, is, and will be can be attributed to the omniverse or God. If God is all powerful, then God must be all the power in all the atomic particles in infinite space, or the omniverse. If this is not true, then God is only partially powerful, and therefore is not the omniversal God of monotheism. A transcendent God that is less than the omniverse is a fragmentary God who is not all power or omnipotent or omniscient or omnipresent. If there were a devil or demons that exist apart from God, they would be something that God is not creating, controlling, or present in. If this is the case, then a limited God of this understanding is not omniscient, omnipotent, nor omnipresent. The devil or demons may exist, not guaranteed, but an omniversal, omnipotent, omniscient, and omnipresent uh, God must be their creator and sustainer while being present in every particle of their being. The logical conclusion from this information is that the omnipotent God of this magnitude must be the atomically charged omniversal energy or spirit that is all things. The omniverse is the only totality that can meet the requirements of omnipotence, omniscience, and omnipresence. The monotheistic God is the omniverse. Otherwise, it's not all those. The ideas of free will and predestination arise with these thoughts. If we have free will and are separate from God, then God is not the creator of all things. We create some things, thoughts, art, speech, dance, error, etc. And God creates the rest of creation that does not have free will. If God does create all things, then predestination may appear to be correct. God knows ahead of time what we will do because God is creating all our actions, and we live as automatons of God's creation. Then punishment for sin cannot be real because it would be nearly impossible to imagine a God that would make its creatures do wrong and then punish them like some little child disciplining an inanimate baby doll for imaginary wrongs, or torturing toy soldiers while playing army in a sandbox. We can say that sin is anything that disrupts our loving connection with the omniversal God. Um, a logical conclusion from this free will discussion is that we are atomically charged manifestations of omniversal energy or God's spirit, or children of God, or God or gods with creative aspects of omniversal energy or God's spirit. We appear to have a narrow spectrum of free will available to us within or as individual parts of the omniverse of God, with guidance or compulsion through innate, instinctive, spiritual, intuitive, physical, psychological, and or evolutionary laws. The natural laws and features in our lives of gravity, hunger, thirst, survival instincts, mass, temperature, resources, inner organ functions, pleasure seeking and pain avoidance, etc. Narrow the options of free will. The omniverse God is creating 90, well, I use this number 99%, but it's probably more percent of our lot. The omniverse or God is creating 99% of our lot or more of our lives, being and body. If we align ourselves in loving harmony with the omniverse of God, then we move closer or completely into alignment with the will of our Creator or God's will. If we are loving all, then there is no reason to struggle with our will versus God's or nature's. Um, and the inner being within us, the God that is within us, the nature within us is guiding us towards loving harmony. And when we agree with that, when we submit to that, we will find loving harmony. We will uh, submit to what God wants for us, and that is love and harmony. Um, so we struggle against it and try to go for a variety of. Again, narrow. The old term, Jesus' term of narrow is the gate. If you find this path of love, because there's so many other paths of hatred and anger and competition and distractions and success, seeking fame and fortune, and egotism, and narcissism, and pride and arrogance, and evil thinking, hate driven, seeking, planning, plotting, scheming to deceive or undermine or ruin, destroy or kill others. Um, are toxic pursuits, and there's many different pursuits that are toxic, many different paths to hell. There's one path to heaven, paradise. That's the path of love of God with all your faculties. And in loving God in all things, including yourself, with all your faculties, is the narrow gate. If we are loving all, then there is no reason to struggle with our will versus God's or nature's. It has been said that the eating of fruit from the tree of the knowledge of good and evil caused us to leave the intimate and present oneness, harmonious, loving union with all in the biblical Garden of Eden. Then we are said to have begun functioning primarily from or through reason with an awareness or illusion of separation by seeing so-called good and evil thought, actions, and things, then turning from the moment to the less than lifelike images in our mind of the past and future. The return to loving God in all, with all, that Jesus and others try to guide us into, would be a return to intimacy and spiritual fulfillment. Returning to the proverbial Garden of Eden, like eating from the tree of life, a returning to harmonious love of God, in God, and the fulfillment of life in the present awareness of our inescapable immersion in the glorious atomically charged universal energy or Spirit of God. If we can see and love all things beyond good and evil as being manifestations of the same atomically charged universal energy or Spirit of God, and that they just are, then we can re-immerse ourselves back into the proverbial Garden of Eden within the omniverse of God without the separation and disruption of awareness uh, that continuous judgment causes. In a biblical quote here, uh, Matthew 4:40, chapter 4, verse 43, 48. You have heard that it was said, you shall love your neighbor and hate your enemy. But I say to you, love your enemy and pray for those who persecute you, that you may be children of your heavenly Father. For he makes his sun rise on the bad and the good, and causes rain to fall on the just and the unjust. For if you love those who love you, what recompense will you have? Do not the tax collectors do the same? And if you greet your brothers only, what is unusual about that? Do not the pagans do the same? So be perfect, just as your heavenly Father is perfect. Again, when you see God in the good and the bad, uh, and the just and the unjust, when you remain loving no matter who's in front of you or around you, you're seeing God. With humans, you're seeing God in human form that are uh, ignorant. They haven't grown. They were born in some kind of an unconscious state. Very few of us, maybe some of us imagine we do. We remember what was going on at birth. or when they were 3 months old, 6 months old. Most of us don't remember much of anything till we're 1, 2, 3, 4, uh, and even many of us don't remember what we had for breakfast yesterday. Um, but and if you greet your brothers only, what is unusual about that? Do not the pagans do the same? So be perfect, just as your Father and your heavenly Father is perfect, who takes care of all his God's creations. All right, we got the Bhagavad Gita. This is Krishna speaking in the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5, verse 18. I do have at the end of this book, but it's not going to be in this video. I do have a long list of Krishna and Arjuna speaking in the Bhagavad Gita. With the same, I don't endorse all of Hinduism with the multiple gods and the theoreticals. I don't endorse gods, Zeus or any of the other gods and goddesses, because they're all fragmentary. They're all, even if they exist, they're transcendent. You can't love those gods with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength. So there's one God, um, and that God is omniversal and everything, and it's all as one. It's not one. It's not 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd have to count. You'd have to say it was infinite. If you're not gonna be a Trinity, you have to have God as an infinity, not a Trinity. So if you're going to say God is multiple parts, then you have to say he's an infinite number of parts. But we're not going to do that. We're going to say God is one. The Bhagavad Gita, this is Krishna speaking in chapter 5, verse 18. With the same awareness of love, they behold the Brahmin who is learned and holy, or a cow, or an elephant, or a dog, and even a man who eats a dog. It's kind of amusing, and yet at the same time, it's talking about loving God in all. Um, the will to live or survive, the will to adapt, the will to seek loving oneness, to fight or flight, eat, to have purpose, healing, creativity, and procreation are innate drives within living things. The atomically charged omniverse, or spirit of God, is the source of and is all these drives. If there were nothing the commonly known living to possess and act on these drives and live, then life as we know it would not exist and persist or persist. There has yet to be discovered a scientific or rational answer for our ability to consciously direct our physical body movements and the consciousness that directs them. Where this consciousness comes from at its inception or birth, and where it goes after death, do not yet have an answer from pure reason or science. They are part of the omniverse of God. They come from and return into the omniverse or God. There is something within every so-called living thing that keeps all its continuously changing particles arranged as itself. This something orchestrates the replacing of vitamins, minerals, proteins, etc. to maintain, regenerate, and rejuvenate all organs and body parts on a daily or moment-to-moment basis until old age or premature death removes this force from its body. And this something is not us. Whatever's running our lives is not us. We are on board. Our soul, our consciousness is on board, but something else is driving us. We can cooperate with that, submit to, align ourselves in loving harmony with this inner being, I'm not going to say aligning ourselves with our desire to beat somebody or abuse somebody for no apparent reason, or for dumb reasons, or for biblical or ancient text reasons. Um, Aligning yourself with love is the alignment, is the correct version of submission, the correct version of aligning yourself with the will of the being that's within you. When you start listening to voices that are telling you to be anything other than loving, uh, you're listening to Satan or some other thing other than listening to God, the God that wants you to love God. And this something is not us. Something wants all living things to live and wants all living things to survive and propagate. And that also that something wants that all living things to seek harmony with their world, harmony with the rest of God, the rest of God's spirit, atomically charged spirit. Since we do not know who or what is behind our lives and the lives of all the living, we cannot, or atheists or scientists cannot rule out God. There's no escaping the potential, the possibility that the omniverse is God and is the creator of all things. Uh, and it becomes very obvious that the omniverse is the creator and sustainer of all things. And if we call God omnipresent and omnipotent and omniscient and the creator of all things, then they must be the same. And we are driven towards harmony with that, whether from a scientific point of view, because even science has surgery or wrapping up a broken bone. We have education. We've learned how to help humans and animals. The veterinary, they have medicines. They have medical treatments. We have a bunch of different things that science has produced. We have therapy. We have psychology. We have psychiatry. We have a variety of different things that are designed to help humans and animals uh, and agriculture to help uh, all living things that we interact with to achieve harmony with the world. Humans have accumulated large quantities of knowledge about the world we live in. We can be relatively certain that we will continue to learn more about this atomically charged omniversal energy or spirit of God or God. Of course, that's as if we don't destroy ourselves before we do this and send us back to the Stone Age with an atomic or completely destroy ourselves off the face of the earth. Um, so, all right. So that's a chapter on omni everything, uh, uh, all all powerful, all knowing, all all present, um, and the creator of all things. In any other omni that goes, it gets put into the label of God or the omniverse. And again, keep repeating this thing. This loving harmony with the world around you is the place to be. And you're gonna find that first, your first place, your first connection, your first intimate relationship is in breathing. That's your first and primary connection with the world around you. That's being fed by that. It's your umbilical cord. It's where we connect with God. Love is our connection with God, the omniverse. And love is the satisfaction, fully matured love of all, is the fruition of our human evolution. It is the fruition of the Judeo-Christian uh, tradition. It is the fruit of years of development, human development, evolution, sociological and physiological evolution. And we're all driven towards it. And when we get there, we know we have achieved home. We found our home in love. Uh, And again, the acceptance of the breathing. That's your first acceptance. By accepting that fully and going into it and enjoying your connection, loving your connection with your Creator comes through your breathing. That's your umbilical cord. And loving that connection is your submission, is you being a true Muslim, being one who submits, submission, not listening to Umar and Uthman and Ali and a variety of different, but listen to Jesus's message, and not the message of Jesus that people nitpick, pick out, pull out, twist, convert, turn. Apostle Paul, Apostle John, Peter. There's questionable statements that have been made throughout the New Testament and the Old Testament that can be misguiding, misleading. The essence of it all is your accepting your connection. You're definitely connected to the universe of God through your breathing. It's definitely soul food. It feeds your soul. Love is soul food, not grits and collard greens and ham hocks. No, soul food is love. Love is soul food, food for the soul. You can feed your body with a variety of different foods, including junk food, which can contaminate the body, but the soul is being fed through love. Love is soul food. Of course, you need regular food in order to keep your soul in your body, but you can fast for 40 days. But you can't stop breathing for more than a couple of minutes, several minutes. So don't stop breathing. Enjoy your breathing. Find your love center and immerse yourself into loving harmony with God, the atomically charged Spirit of God that is every part of you and is everywhere you go, wherever you go. There's no place that God does not exist. It isn't present. And there's no place that this atomic energy, atomic spirit of God isn't magical. I don't want to dismiss it and make it into some version of it's not magical. The Spirit of God is all around. And we are not, as individuals, are narcissistic delusions that we are the center of the universe. We are not the center of the universe. We are parts, we are fragments, we are pieces of God, which is very valuable for the individual in an autonomous, loving relationship with our Creator. But we cannot masquerade as if we are the center of the universe or God, because God is way too vast. The omniverse is way too vast for any individual to have the arrogance to think that they're uh, much greater or more special than any other being on this planet. We are lucky to be alive, with the opportunity to enjoy the richness, the euphoria of love of all in God and everywhere we go. We need reconditioning. We're conditioned to respond to the world in ways that we shouldn't be, should never have been, but we are. And we have to decondition and recondition ourselves. Forgiveness is a very important part of moving on, learning to love those who have violated you or done wrong to you or continue to do wrong to you. Uh, I don't recommend, sticking your hand in the mouth of a grizzly bear or uh, get get too close to the rattlesnake or the skunk. But at the proper distance, all those things are beautiful creations of God. As long as you know your limits from a physical point of view, that you're not violating the laws, natural laws, the laws of God or the omniverse. Um, and you're in harmony. And if anything is disharmonious, harmonious, and there's no way around it, then you move to another place and find harmony. And if uh, people are causing disharmony in the world, they need to be re-educated. into finding their love center and finding God in all and learning to love uh, all, with all your faculties, all your thoughts, all your experiences, your strength, not squander your strength on frivolous things. I'll have a chapter on that at some point, but not today. But finding your getting connected, accepting, loving your connection through breathing love, feeling your love center, finding that love within, and immersing in it, and that is your armor. Love, which is such a beautiful and sensitive thing, is your armor against the ravages of the world, against the ravages of lost souls out there. Uh, I don't want to use any zombie references, but there's some kind of thing where people are lost, going off, the track of harmonious loving union with the omniversal God, but not you. Uh, or maybe it will be you. Maybe you're not interested, but this is my path, and I'm not going off it until I'm dead or even after I'm dead. This is my path, and I love the progress I've made, and I love the potential for what I can become in this path, euphoria of this love. So there you go. There's another chapter in the ongoing saga. There'll be more. You got to be careful not to go too far overboard and get into toxic subjects. But I think I've got the majority of and they have a chapter on theoretical utilization of the atomic energy that we are, as in healing the sick or walking on water, and learning to cultivate the potential that we are in, that we are a part of. Heal yourself or heal others. But again, that'll be for another time. For now, uh, peace, love, victory, and more love. All right, later.